Good. Okay, we're going to talk about fun stuff and outdoors, so this can be a little bit more collaborative, and it's okay to emote if you want to. It's totally okay. First of all, I want to tell you, just from a personal place, that a guy from Montreal, Canada, of all places, is here in Santa Monica talking with these experts and you about outdoor living is a pretty cool thing when you think about how we got here. It's really interesting. Growing up in Montreal, if you look outside today, absolutely incredible. And I say to you with not the slightest ounce of exaggeration, if we get 4 or 5 days like this a year, it's considered a good year. It's absolutely true. And that is the norm for most other places where people in North America live. So it is an incredible canvas that this area has for these types of outdoor memories. I'm here in a very humble way to actually learn from my co-panelists, but I wanted to first talk about, and then I'm going to turn it over with some questions, the odd and historical disconnect between indoor and outdoor design, cooking, and entertainment. And I learned this when I started Urban Bonfire. I would go to somebody's home and walk into this incredible outdoor kitchen that obviously had remarkable design detail, design professionals, cabinetry specialists, lighting, hoods, ventilation, appliances, countertops, down to the minutest detail. And then I would walk 4 feet towards a patio door that's glass, slide it open, and I was in a completely different world with a rusted old barbecue off in the corner. It defied any form of logic to me, because when you ask people where they typically celebrate the most, enjoy the most, want to be in a restaurant the most, outside for al fresco or terrace dining, why had that not carried through into residential? So I'd like to turn it over, I think, first to Cesar, really, and even in his title, interior designer, but I imagine that he's got a lot of vantage point on outdoors. So I'd like to talk about first, where did this historical disconnect come from? Why has it existed for such a long time? And what are some ideas on how to merge and bridge those two things?
Thank you. First of all, very happy to be here. Thank you, Ryan. Patty Dominguez, who is family, Cosentino. I love them. I literally injected myself with their DNA, so I can call myself a Cosentino member. And Ryan, you can move to Colombia, because as a Canadian, I love the cold weather, so we can switch. I'll make sure you get a good welcome in Colombia. Deal. Yes, deal, close. But yes, I have to say that to answer your question in the best of my ability, because I always tell a story, because it's through experience. I have to say that I lost my virginity. Now I'll barbecuing by the pool, doing a house or doing a project. But this is an 18,000 square feet home in Bel Air. And the client was very specific. And it was a good project because he knew what he wanted, the husband. And yes, that disconnect that always exists, between the indoor and outdoor. And he did not want that. He said, I want my indoor to translate so well into the outdoor that I don't want any of my guests to see the difference. I want my guests to feel that my living room is an extension and it becomes 3 times, as big. Not only with the interior decor, which are the, movable pieces, but also with the finishes, especially with Dectan. Dectan being the material that it is. Dectan is a material that has, plus 60 colors, right? Or 100, I believe, if you count them all. But Dectan, the beauty of Dectan is that you can do, the countertops, you can do flooring, you can do walls, you can do, so that monochromatic, color that you can inject, into the indoor as well as the outdoor, it can be very sexy, can be very elegant. It used to be that the outdoor, it was almost, it had to look like pebble stones. It was very, baroque and very, not anymore, especially in my situation, because I do modern spaces, mostly is modern. So and also with the outdoor furniture as well. You know, the outdoor furniture used to be very heavy, very bulk. It used to be metal. And even with the appliances for outdoor, men were the only ones that were sort of like welcome because they were also sort of like heavy as well. Not anymore. Now the sophistication is sometimes you cannot even tell if it is an outdoor. When you see an outdoor kitchen, you question it. Is this an outdoor kitchen or this is an indoor? So the new is that I like to, especially with this project, we kept it very, just very clean throughout, and very cohesive. And so right now is one of the projects that I do celebrate the most because obviously the gadgets that come with it too, the outdoor television, all of those, elements make a space, in 2020, almost 2020, and very appealing, very enjoyable. And the new indoor is the new, what is the word? The new outdoor is the new indoor, or the new, now I got confused.
Hold that thought, because I want to ask on that point.
Right.
It's an important point that you're making.
Yes.
From my experience, in almost 80% of cases where a client, designer, builder is looking to do an outdoor, if you ask the end user consumer, why did you get an outdoor kitchen or why is it on your plan? Inevitably, 8 times out of 10, the answer is my designer told me to. So I want to bring this question to Annette because she's been dealing with consumers and designers and builders in both categories for a long time. So how has it been that there was a term interior designer? And then what happens on the, how have you been able to merge those, or what have you seen in these sort of historic, often non-intersecting paths?
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. I'm going to go back to the first question, super quick to go into this question. I believe that the historical disconnect, outdoor versus indoor, is oftentimes because maybe the entire team hasn't been selected yet. Sometimes landscape designers are later. Hardscape is coming in terms of design after. And I believe that that is truly the disconnect. So when I start a meeting with a client, I try to at least start to mindfully bring the concept from indoor to outdoor by asking the same questions I would when they're choosing appliances. What kind of cooking do you do? How big is your family? How do you use your outdoor in comparison to your indoor? Do you cook outside when it's holidays? And so then we can sort of start bringing together the concept of how are you going to use that space? What do you need to truly have an enjoyable experience out there? And what does that mean in terms of overall space planning so that it's not an afterthought, which is typically what it is now. So what I see is we put so much focus on the indoor, we go through all that, and then everyone's out of money at the end, and we're literally starting to ship appliances, and the client's usually calling me saying, can you throw a 36-inch barbecue on the truck for me? I'm gonna need something. And that's really, truly my passion, is to start breaking that trend and talk about it. What, are you right-handed? Where would your refrigerator be? Do you want an ice maker outside? Does your husband like to smoke? Meat, sorry. Or both, but la la la. So, I mean, that's really, I think, the trend. If we could start talking about both at the same time, it would really sort of break that trend, and the indoor would become the outdoor mindfully, creatively, and at the end, beautifully.
I think it's a great, so I think it's a really good segue now, and I actually want to sort of tell you a very 30-second story, and then I want to hand this over to Patty. In May, Cosentino invited me to come to Spain and see how their materials are made, meet their team, and I had the incredible honor of having lunch with Mr. Cosentino, and he, in the most incredibly humble way, was asking us questions about product, about marketing, what could they do better. It was remarkable. I can't imagine Steve Jobs saying, so Ryan, how do we make the next iPhone better? It just defies logic. And he asked, and I told him from a very personal vantage point, I said, you know, when we learned about Decton, and this is not related to Decton only, this is a lot of other types of products, it was marketed that this is a building facade material, it's great for the outdoors, it can be used, and we said, well great, we should start using these on our kitchens because, again, up in Quebec, we have to deal with heat, snow, ice, salt, rain, like it comes from all angles. And then over time, I said, I don't see, or I'd like to better understand, what is Cosentino's philosophy on its branding towards outdoors, getting designers engaged and enthusiastic about doors with the same level of rah that they do on indoors. And I'd like Patty's thoughts on, philosophically and from a branding perspective, how is Cosentino seeing this as a big opportunity?
Hi, everyone. So I think I'd like to kind of piggyback on our trip to Spain. I won't talk about all the wine and gin tonics that we drank. But what I will tell you is Paco Cosentino, when you learn the story, we're a small family business that's gotten big. But when Decton came to life, it was... And it was a really amazing thing that happened about 8 years ago, because that's when the thought process began. Apple actually came to us and asked us to develop a specific color for them, and with our product Silestone. So we did, and we went and presented this color. And guess what? They didn't like it. And they didn't like it because it wasn't exactly the grain of gray tones that they wanted. So they told us no, and Paco does not like no. So at that moment, he developed this idea, and we have the only plant today that can actually make an ultra-compact surface that is Decton in the world today. The competition has started to come out with other similar products, but the reality is that he's an entrepreneur and just always thinking ahead. And so two things happened. One, we developed a system that we could actually make that gray in a much simpler way, to do it exactly like what they wanted, which is one of the amazing benefits of Decton. And the other part of it is that at that point he was like, and how can we do something that you can actually use outdoors, that it will withstand the heat, the UV resistance, and all of those things that unfortunately quartz does not, and won't change the color. And that's how Decton came to life. And so as far as the durability of it and the ability for use, when we saw that you can bring it from the indoors and have it in your countertop and then outdoors in your countertop or your flooring, it just became this, great possibility for endless possibilities, really.
So I want to touch on endless possibility because this is a big one. And Annette, I'm going to actually go to you with this, and then I'd really like Cesar to add his thoughts on it. I think one of the reasons why we have seen this historic disconnect is in most cases, and this is North America wide, even the most sophisticated, progressive, content-driven, experiential retailers in the luxury appliance or the luxury kitchen area have, even when you walk into their showroom, there's indoor and there's out, and it's completely different, aesthetically designed, amount of space, things like that. And I think if we want, as a design-driven population, to see this whole category rise, people need to be inspired with the realm of possible. So Annette, I'd like to turn to you from a retailer or a specialty retailer's perspective. How have you seen this change where it's now becoming an area where people can be inspired? What are you hearing in terms of questions? How are we collectively as a community in design able to bridge this tremendous fragmentation that used to exist? Because when someone wanted something indoors, it was easy. If someone wanted outdoors, the typical route was, you know, the landscape guy would say, go pick your appliance from here and I'll build you something with the leftover stone. It was all sort of all over the place. What is the way to mitigate, reduce that fragmentation and inspire, really deeply inspire potential and future clients?
I think the first thing is truly understanding the client's needs and like I said previously, understand how they use the space, and then building the story on top of that, which could be the pizza oven industry is going crazy right now, and it can be built in, it can be countertop, it can be facade ready, it could be stainless. The options are endless, and that transcends to kind of outdoor stir-fry cooking or, you know, sort of an Asian style cooking. And so, you know, if we delve in, just like we do in indoor, if we delve into, if you could have anything outdoor, what would it be? And who would use it? It doesn't just have to be dad out there flipping burgers. It could be mom steaming things or putting it on a flat surface on the barbecue and doing vegetables, which were so much healthier today. And the barbecue used to just be, you know, pieces of stainless that things fell through. But now we can truly put vegetables on a grill and get that amazing smoky flavor that we didn't have those options before. So I think really, just like a designer does on the indoor, if we can paint the picture of what the outdoor can be, and then show them that it doesn't have to just be brick and masonry, that it could be colors, which makes me so excited that colors have come to outdoor. And it can be customized to your needs with recyclable trash cans and drawers that are completely enclosed inside and out, so we don't have to worry about critters climbing in, which has always been a concern. As all those sort of things that weren't available before become available now within the discussion, it makes a completely different design that we can offer clients, that they're probably spending just as much money today doing that concept than they did before with some brick and mason and paint and rebar. So
I want to continue to Cesar with that point because it's a really important one. I personally believe that in the past, why we are just starting to see, or we have historically not seen, interior design specialists, trendsetters, all these types of things, why they have not necessarily embraced the outdoors the way you're describing. You're this what was you lost your virginity? That was your moment on this project.
Correct.
Very, very well said.
Yes.
I believe, and I'd like you to challenge me or correct me, that one of the reasons why we had apprehension to the design community embracing the outdoors is designers want to impart their look, their feel, their taste, their mark, their brand on what they do. It's art. So indoors, you have the greatest array of options in the world. But historically, in the past, it was like telling a designer, work outdoors, but you've got one arm tied behind your back. You can use brick or stone or stucco, but that's real. How do we get beyond that, and why do you think that happened for so long?
Well, because we didn't have the resources to start with. Let's just start with that. Even your company, Urban Bonfire, is a very sexy company. The colors are, very... By the way, did you learn flamenco in Spain? Huh? We need to know if you learn flamenco, Ryan, to start with. But no, I have to say that it was quite limited. The materials were not available. You know, the surfaces like Dectan. Okay, 4 years ago, when I met Dectan, you know, my life changed as a designer, you know. My professional life. My personal life changed when I met Rudy. I have to say, Ryan, that Dectan, I did an exhibition of Dectan on La Cienega for the La Cienega Design Quarter, and it was very sculptural. And people kept asking all the developers that came to the event, the architects, the designer, what is this? What is this? And I kept saying, it's Dectan, and everybody kept thinking, okay, it's only for outdoors. Well, not. Dectan is for indoors as well. So it also took some time for people to understand that Dectan, it was a surface that needed to be used also indoors. So that transition, I think Cosentino picked up really quick, and that is no longer the thinking right now. Now they think Dectan, indoors, outdoors. So when you think indoors, outdoors, what I do now, the surfaces that I use for my outdoor kitchen are quite close, if not the same, that I use in my indoor kitchen. So I don't want to see the difference. As a designer, I don't like patches. I like cohesiveness. I love monochromatism. I like colors to be very, that communicate well as much as I do with the furniture, obviously with accessories and everything else that I do. So when I do indoors, I love the outdoors to be very, the communication has to be very clear. And usually designers in the past, they needed to make that difference. And it's no longer the case. That's the past.
I think that it segues actually now into the next big thing we wanted to talk about. And in order to segue into this, I'm going to, and I very rarely do, I'm going to talk about my mom. So my mom, every Friday night when I was growing up, would cook dinner. Completely normal for her to roast the chicken in the oven at 450 degrees, work with it, the whole thing. Fantastic. Ask her to do the same thing, to light a barbecue and cook at exactly the same temperature outdoors, and there was this immediate fear that is not for me, it's not zone, it's the man's sort of territory. And I started to, and when I started Urban Bonfire, I started to really ask the questions, why? And the number one reason, historically, anyone know why historically women have been sort of removed from the barbecue and the grill? Fear of lighting hair on fire. That old historic, that poof that used to happen on all the old things, used to scare the crap out of women because of their hair.
And now it's the lashes. Sorry.
Very possibly. So I then looked at it and got even deeper into it, and let's just understand there are certain economic and fundamental facts that female-driven spending, whether it's on home, car, vacation, appliance, sporting equipment, about 84% of household buying decision is dominated by female. And historically, and we were just talking about this morning, most of the major grill manufacturers have historically, I don't want to say have ignored women, but their marketing and branding has been very much male-driven. It's been this, I beat my chest, man make fire, caveman. There's almost like, I'm the king of the castle because I work, and it's completely flawed in its thinking. One of North America's largest and most progressive grill companies in the world, actually, up until a few years ago, had a tagline that said on its boxes, on its brochures, on its marketing, mom-friendly, dad-ready. And I challenged that statement because I said, if that's the way you're marketing your products, first of all, from an economics perspective, you're not really targeting the people who are making the decision to buy your product. More importantly, it doesn't make any sense because the whole idea of cooking is supposed to be connective in terms of family and friends and things like that. So I want to shift this now into how do you see on the outdoors that we are, as designers, as specialty retailers, and as manufacturers of products, what is being done to more openly welcome women and style into this very historical category with a lot of parameters and boxes on it? And we can throw anybody who wants to grab this first, be my guest.
I think Patty is the perfect one.
Because Patty does all the cooking.
She does all the cooking.
Of course.
No, yes. I mean, I love the fact that we can do the marketing and change it to make it more women-friendly, but I still would like for my husband to cook outside. Or I can pay someone to do it. But actually, I do, in all seriousness, love the idea of having that. I agree with you because at my age, it's always been about kind of that fear, or you deal with that. You know, that's his world. That's always been his world. And but now I think the color, I mean, I personally love color, but I think when you walk out into a beautiful space and you see, a beautiful countertop, or now the grills. I mean, my gosh, Heston, you guys have done unbelievable with your color schemes of I don't know if you guys have seen it at Urban, but you should. I just love the color palette. And I just think that as a woman, me personally, I feel more like at home if I'm, outside and I'm grilling with a beautiful countertop and some color and a nice grill that you actually open. It's not going to, explode all over you. It's just more sexy. It's nicer.
Yes.
But I still like the idea of, I can be outside and having a cocktail while my husband's cooking for me.
Right. Yes. Absolutely.
Annette, I think you're actually an outdoor cooking aficionado, if I understand correctly. You adore cooking outdoors. So tell us a little bit, first of all, your own personal experience, but how are you, or have you seen any change in the way women or families are making decisions for outdoors as you deal with them at a retail level or at a specialty level? Builders, what are your thoughts on what you're seeing in this?
I would say that, yes, I love to cook outside. I love being outside, and I mean, we live in California, so, if you have the ability, we have basically 340 days that are gorgeous. Why not? I think there's a slight trend in change to women becoming more involved in the decision making at the appliance level, but I still see sort of the automatic passing the football to the husband and saying, well, I'm going to let him make the final decision. I just want to be able to do chicken or whatever. And so what I try to do is two things when I'm talking to families about their appliance package to bring the woman in, the mom, lady, whoever. Family and function, because those two words resonate huge with women. Family, it doesn't matter whether you have kids at home or you have kids that are gone and come back. What you want to do when they're home is you want to all be together, and you want to be having fun together, and you want more than likely to have their friends come over and everybody be at home having an amazing time together. And the outdoors truly gives us that option where everyone can have a cocktail and can be cooking together. And if you think about some of the amazing products out there like the Evo that makes cooking as a family amazing. I mean, you could all be doing stir fry together or burgers together on an Evo. Or, I mean, the consummate amazing family appliance is, again, the pizza oven. I mean, there's nothing more exciting than rolling out the dough and everybody making their own pizzas, whether it's a contest or it's just what you like. That is such a family or even just friend bonding activity. And so as that, again, sort of that story evolves as we're starting to pick appliances, then I throw in the idea of function. Okay, great. I mean, I would love to see a pizza oven in your outdoor kitchen, but let's make sure that we allow enough space on the countertop so that you have all of your condiments, you have your dough ability to roll out, all of those things, so that we don't pack the outdoor into such a small area that we don't have the space to do that. So, I mean, I think if we can really sort of embody family and function, the trend will be to bring women into the decision-making mode and it become more of a group effort in that planning.
That's great.
I love that.
I have one more question or topic that I want Cesar to cover with, and we have to leave enough time for a few questions. So I want to talk about one of the greatest shifts in urbanization and design ever, which is happening right now. In 1950, 25% of the world's population lived in cities, 75% rural. by 2050, in just 100 years, that will have inverted itself. 75% of the world's population will be living in urban centers. We're seeing it happen everywhere. People, even at the baby boomer retirement age, are foregoing 5,000 square foot homes on a golf course in Arizona for a 1,500 square foot condo in a university town in Ann Arbor because they want to be near yoga classes and farmers markets and running clubs. And this is exactly what we're seeing. So that is putting both an incredible challenge and an opportunity on the design community because Mr. and Mrs. Jones, who are used to living in 4,000 square feet and love to cook and garden and do all these types of things, they want the same level of experiences, but now they have to do it on a 15 by 20 foot terrace or deck. To the design community, what is the challenge and opportunity as you face, obviously 18,000 square feet is a unique opportunity, but as more and more people are living in smaller spaces, as an incredible designer, how do you marry small space with design and function and experience?
Sure. Now, before I go into that question, I want to answer something that switch, I think, the brands about how women can get more involved. If you look at Cosentino's ads, you see Cindy Crawford on top of a counter, and she is the boss. So
wait till you see next year's issue right here.
Oh, perfect. I cannot wait, Ryan. I cannot wait.
With Cindy?
Called bald on top.
It's Cindy and Ryan on
with
top.
With Cindy and Ryan, it's going to be hot. So I have to say that is right there in those ads. And also the brands. I always look at the Italian brands in terms of colors, composition, because they're very sort of metrosexual, how they really advertise. And that is also bringing women to the picture, to the equation. Anyway, I just wanted to add that before I go into this question. But I have to tell you, I'm a huge advocate, even though I've done very big projects, I'm a huge advocate of this, multi-family building. I love to lock up and disappear. I think it's wonderful. It's a peace of mind. I have a client who has a huge house, and he keeps saying, you know what, we're thinking to just, downsize and just move into a beautiful condo. And listen, I mean, most of these projects are doing very beautiful communal areas where people can barbecue, they can play golf, they can play tennis, they can swim, which in a way I think, is going to increase, marriage proposals. Because you know what, dating in Los Angeles is very difficult. So I think that also increases, better dating, better, a better social life. If Miss Patty Dominguez comes from a long trip that she lives in an airplane, and then she comes home to her 2,500 square foot condo, she gets to go down to the communal area. The neighbors, will ask her, Patty, would you like, fish, steak, or, is that new living, is that new style is happening a lot. And I like it. I think that Los Angeles, compared to the rest of the country, the houses here are massive. I mean, there's one house going for $500 million and it's 95,000 square feet. I mean, who the hell wants to live in a house like that? I mean, not even if I have the money, I will live in the house. So it is almost a lack of respect to nature. That's why the fires that we're having are happening, because we're not supposed to live where we're supposed to build houses. So honestly, I mean, really pay attention to this. Is a bigger question. It's a bigger, topic. So I love the fact that these communal, multi-family buildings are happening now. If you're in West Hollywood, they do it with style. There's a lot of, the Heartland is a very beautiful, multi-family building that is going up. The Pantry is going to be super sexy. The 8899 Beverly Boulevard is going to be amazing. So that's also, I mean, some of those penthouses are 10,000 square feet. It's changing. In LA, everybody's moving to Los Angeles because everywhere is either freezing or, well, right now, I mean, the north is already, super cold. So we want you here, Ryan.
Thank you. That's amazing. And,
Yes.
and I know you work with a lot of multi-developers who are building beautiful but going vertical. What are your thoughts and what are you seeing on this discussion point?
I really want to, this is a perfect opportunity to highlight Urban Bonfire, because it can be as spatial if you have the space for it, but based on the module sizes and what's available, I mean, we can take a very small space and pack a huge amount in with an Urban Bonfire setup. And the team up there is amazing. I mean, I typically don't figure it all out in the beginning, but how the conversation typically goes is, this is what we're speccing, 30-inch barbecue. We have limited space, so a 15-inch refrigerator. We need a sink, so we're doing an 11-inch sink. And when I provide all of those specs, and we want electrical, so if they want to put a blender outside or charge their phone, that's all included in there. And given those parameters, I mean, I will typically get back maybe 1 or 2 designs that works within that space. And then we fine tune. We start here and go to here. But by the end, almost every time we have been able to get in every single functional piece of appliance that we need using the Urban Bonfire product. And then you add in color. If it's somewhere that typically works with a homeowners association, and maybe some cool handles that make it seem a little bit unique and different. And it's truly fathomable to get an amazing outdoor kitchen in a small space.
Thank you.
I'm gonna say one thing about.
Please.
So on the commercial, we are in the world of the commercial business right now in Cosentino, dealing with developers every day. And it's fascinating that 3 years ago, the conversation never revolved around outdoors. It was always, they're building up, and it was their kitchen, and it was their space, and there was never a conversation. And I can say that in the last year, our architect and design team are constantly coming in with, and now we have a spec for outdoors. And everything is, whether it's a big terrace or whether it's upstairs, the buildings that are now being built where halfway there's like a beautiful roof, and then it kind of keeps going, and that's where the area is where they're doing their barbecue or their outdoor space. It's fantastic. And with Decton, because you can also do flooring, we've done a lot of outdoor roof and spaces that way, with where you actually can do the floor and then of course be part of the barbecue.
So I want to close on that point for the design community, and then we're really going to get a couple of questions. So interesting, as we've talked about the outdoors, when you think about it from an economic perspective, it's actually one of the least costly rooms in a home to activate. If you compare the square footage of an outdoor terrace or deck to the square footage of an indoor kitchen, and you look at what it costs per square foot to make that space a room, usually about 20 cents on the dollar. It's literally free space that you don't have to do a lot to turn into the greatest platform for memories and experiences with friends and family and things like that. So to the design community, it is an open canvas that is waiting for us to activate. Clients want it, they're asking for it, they typically don't know where to go. So the historic divide of talk to somebody else about the outdoors should be eroded, where we think more the way people today, to Cesar's point about that indoor-outdoor blend, and with products that are made indoor-outdoor, think about cooking, lifestyle entertainment as a big umbrella. This just happens to be an indoor and an outdoor pod. So my dream is that, no one ever says, I'm going to go cook dinner in my indoor kitchen. But we've always used the term, I'm going to go to my outdoor kitchen. So my personal dream is that term of indoor-outdoor is eroded, and it's really just a flowing blend of design, functionality, and enjoyment for people who are going to use it. And outdoor spaces finally get that level of rah that they really need. So with that, I want to open it up to the floor. Questions, comments, disagreements, challenges. Patty, and please, here we go.
Put him on the spot.
You have a mic for the, can we give a mic to the?
I need to stay here, so.
All right.
Cesar.
Hey. To the gentleman right there, please. Thank you. Thank you.
Compliments to everybody. I wanted to say, I apologize, I arrived a little later, but the lady with the blonde hair, I loved what you said when you said about the lifestyle, about a home. One of the most components about a happy marriage, a happy relationship, or whatever is when both people are cooking and both people are doing something. And an outdoor kitchen actually introduces that. It's interesting that people talk about the grill is for the male and the inside for the female. Often, though, you think about it, the female has set up the kitchen herself. She knows where everything is, and God forbid if you spill something in her kitchen or whatever. But I think that when I sell luxury real estate, I think that it's like one of the things that when you're showing a home is showing in that about the happinesses, and I see a great respect for it. You can cook together, et cetera. So I think what you're doing and what you're introducing is magical to the family. And it's big, it's healthy. And I also want to, on the very end part of it, for example, Los Angeles, most people are in a hurry. I mean, everything's instant satisfaction. Most people can cook outside quicker. So it really does actually satisfy lifestyle. So once again, I think that you hit it right on the head.
And dramatically less mess and cleanup compared to cooking
indoors. You keep him
indoors.
outside. Thank you very much, everybody.
Beautiful. Questions, comments? We're going to have cocktails very, very soon after this. So if you want to talk to anybody here, please, more privately or intimately, great.
Yeah,
But
Alex, Cesar, she has a question there.
question? Oh, good.
I can't believe Cesar is running it. It's a
Hi.
friend of mine.
Hi, my name is Raja. I am international business consultant, and I come from Italy for many years, consulting the companies. But sometimes I like the way how you said, outdoor and indoor, you create this combination for open. But unfortunately, like you said, in Canada, Quebec, it's humid, and the climate is different. When I was dealing with, for example, for Middle East, they like outdoor, but it's hot, and my question, if you do any research for materials, like using outdoor MDF, like for Middle East, there is humidity and use a lot of water. Like in Canada, it's cold and humid too, and other places. This is one question. Second question, how to convey, more than convey, it's like to make happy the client. Like I was living many places around the world, but I like outdoor. But if I have just 2 months, I like to cook outside, outdoor, but I have just 2 months, like the summertime, and I cook like, we have just like in Europe, we use a lot of barbecue.
Sure.
It becomes very difficult to make happy the client when he would love to have outdoor kitchen, but it's humid or maybe it's cold. I have just 2 months, the time.
I'll answer
Thank you.
one part of your question, and I'm actually going to ask Annette or Patty or Cesar to answer the rest of it. But Quebec, you bring up as an example, beautiful place, 4 seasons, but literally it's winter 6 months out of the year. Has more pools per capita than any province in Canada or any state in the United States. Why? Because philosophically, people believe that I only get 3 or 4 months of nice weather, but I can either complain about it for my entire life or I can move. But if I'm going to live here, I'm going to live here. The same way as someone's going to buy a sports car or buy skis that they can't use in July, but they can only use it in the winter. It's tapping into the psychology, I believe, of if you're going to live here and enjoy it. And you can always make an excuse for why I can't or why I shouldn't or this, but the reality is people get a lot more usage and passion when they have a platform to do it.
I was going to say, Minnesota, we did a study and has one of the greatest sales for outdoor kitchens, and so Minnesota is quite cold. But I think it goes back to exactly what Ryan just said. It's about quality, and I live in Houston, and it's humid and hot. So 4 or 5 months, it's all humidity, and no one wants to be outside. You can go grill and jump in the pool, but I think it's like everything. If you're thinking about, with your question, talking about your clients, I think that literally putting that stress of when you have that opportunity, embrace it. I think that people sometimes they take it for granted. I mean, most people in California, obviously, you kind of take it for granted that it's another beautiful sunny day. And for us that don't live here, it's like, wow, this is just gorgeous. And maybe you're not inclined to go sit outside every single day in your outdoor kitchen because you have it. And so I think there's a good twist to that by having people that if they get 2 months, 3 months, they will be there every single day of the 3 months.
Annette?
I actually have a lot to say about this, but I'll keep it short. First, I would say that our job as design professionals is to create the solution for the client. So whether it's hot and muggy or cold and snowy, there are so many amazing professionals out there to consult with that we can come up with solutions that will meet the needs of the people, whether it's 2 months, 2 weeks, or 12 months out of the year. In terms of picking surfaces in a hot area that aren't going to be heat radiant, much lighter, picking products that are enclosed, like Urban Bonfire, so we don't have to worry about things crawling in, or moisture control in something that might have an open back. But, if you have an outdoor area, there's amazing heaters, Gromic and Infratech, that make incredible spaces that are warm now, so now they can go outside even though it's super cold and still enjoy their outdoor area. So there's so much in the industry at the tips of our fingers to make a successful space for clients. We just really have to think outside the box and open our eyes.